everyone. Welcome to the Gail Estella Survival Podcast, where survival isn't a whisper, it's a roar. And I want you to do something before we get started. I want you to go to the comment box below, and I want you to like, share, subscribe to the Gail Estella Survival Podcast. Will you please do that for me? And where are you tuning in from? Drop it in the comment below, in the comment box below. We would like to know where you're tuning in from. And I want you to follow us on all social media platforms at Gail Estella. Yes. Have you ordered my new book, Through It All by Gail Estella? It's available now at TrueVinePublishingCompany.org and also Amazon and your local bookstores. Go out and get your copy. As we start this month, May is Mother's Day month. And we all know what it's like to be a mother, the importance of a mother. But May is also Mental Health Awareness Month. So for the month of May, I want to do something different. I'm going to interview mothers that have lost their children, and we're going to talk about their journeys and their mental health through their journeys and their grief that they experience from it. And here we are today with my guest, Frances Wherry. How are you doing, Frances?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
And before we get started, their names matter. Call your son's name.
Mitchell Jeter.
Mitchell Jeter. Yes. I remember Mitchell. Yeah. How was your Mother's Day?
I think Mother's Day, since he passed, is always challenging. It's always something missing. I have other children, but nobody can replace him. So it's always like, it feels like a heavy burden that you walk around with, you know. And sometimes you notice it, especially when it's a holiday or something going on.
Yeah.
Other than that, yes, my other kids tried to make it enjoyable and memorable. So
let's talk about Mitchell. Tell the audience about Mitchell.
Mitchell, I tell you, he was an extraordinary young man. He always, he was smart. He was kind. He was funny. He loved people, and people loved him. And he had the smile that would light up a room. Everybody remember him by his smile. When they talk about him, they talk about his smile. He was the young man that if he would shake your hand, he's going to look you in the eye.
Yes.
That's the type person he was. He was
Citadel grad.
Yeah, Citadel. And he went to Montreal for the Canadian League for a little stint before he was cut. And he was actually getting ready to go into the Army. He wanted to go into Special Forces. So I was afraid of that because in my mind I was thinking, hey, something could happen while he's over there. So never thought that he would pass before leaving to go into the service.
So tell us, if you don't mind sharing, tell us about the way that Mitchell passed.
Mitchell was involved in a car accident. He had been to visit family in Union, South Carolina, because he was actually going to see them to tell them, hey, bye, I'll see, just in case I don't see y'all again before I go into the service. Just telling his family bye on his dad's side. And he was on his way back because he had to get to a bachelor party, get to a bachelor's party at his cousin. And that's when the accident occurred. At first they said it was the other car's fault. Then they said it was his fault because he overcorrected. So not only did Mitchell pass in that accident, 3 other people passed in the accident in the other car. So not only do I have grief for my son, I have, and I had grief and guilt for the other people that were involved. And it almost was like, you know, when I grieve, it was almost like, should I be grieving? Like, at what degree? Because this family lost 3 people, you lost 1. But then I learned that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because that was my son.
That was your son. That's your son. And I remember being at church, and we were upstairs. I worked with the youth, and all these text messages started going off, and Pastor Crump announced it in the church, and he said that Pastor McCrae's son had just been killed, and everybody was like, because Asia had passed a couple of months or some months before Mitchell, so I was still having that heaviness on my heart. And when he said Pastor McCrae's son, I'm like, that's Francis, you know, that's Francis, baby. And I can just remember my heart dropping, you know, for you having to experience what it was that you were, you know, getting ready to experience. And, you know, when you're saying in the car accident, were you able, so tell us about when you got the phone call.
Well,
how many hours after was it that you received the phone call?
Yeah, well, I actually had spoken to Mitchell at 8:21 p.m. that day. I was at my mom's house. And so we talked on the phone, and he was on his way then to the bachelor party. So, of course, before we always would hang up, we would say, I love you. And so that's the last words that was said. So I never had to guess, because at first I was like, what did I say to him last? But when I thought about, I did talk to him on the phone, it was, I love you and be careful. And my mom said the same thing to him. The accident had to happen after I spoke with him, probably around 8:45-ish. But we didn't find out around 11 about 11 o'clock that night. I was out, and my mom called me and said, did you hear that Mitchell had been in an accident? And I was like, no, I didn't. The girls had called her because they heard the police at the door talking about the accident. But then they said that he was okay, everybody was okay, but so that's what the girls told my mom. So I rushed home. And by that time, people were calling me like, you need to come home. I'm going, and I was thinking like, why would I come home? I need to go to the hospital. Which hospital is he in? And they kept on saying, just come home first, and then we'll go to the hospital, whatever. I'm going like, no, let me go to the hospital. But in my heart, I knew something I knew something wasn't right, because why would I have to go home first? And then when I pulled up, the police was there and the coroner. But I didn't realize it was a coroner's truck at the time. And and that's when they told me that he was in an accident. I still didn't believe it, because it was like, no, this can't be true. Maybe somebody stole his car, you know. So you start going through all the scenarios in your mind that, no, this can't be. I just talked to him. The denial of it all. So they did get, they gave me his driver's license. And I still was thinking, no, it still can't be true. So I didn't believe it until they let me go to the morgue the next day. They really not supposed to let you go, but I, talked to someone. I say, I need to see him. And they let me go. And for some reason, when I went there and saw him, I did get a peace, because I could tell he was peaceful and that he did not suffer. When I saw him, I knew that from when I looked at him. And so after I left there, because before going there, my mind was just like in an uproar. I didn't sleep for 2 days. I had to go to the get something to sleep. I was up 2 days. My body was, my mind was all over the place. But then I did get a peace once I saw him, and I knew he did not. And they told me, it was instant. But,
so you said he was getting ready to go into the service, and he was supposed to be going into service soon after that, right? A couple of days, right?
It was actually, the accident was September the 9th, but he wasn't going to leave until September the 25th.
Okay, I know it was
something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was the same month and everything. Yeah.
And so you said earlier that you were hesitant about him joining the special services, because we know that that's an elite form of the military, special services, and the best of the best. Mm-hmm. And you were hesitant about that because you were concerned about him getting hurt or something happening to him.
Yeah. In my mind, I was concerned about him leaving, because I was like, what if something happened to him over there? And I'm going through all the scenarios in my head of what could happen. And, when I was talking to Mitchell, I was like, why are you going into service? Why did you choose? He said, well, that's what I've always wanted to do. It's not because like the football didn't work out. That was, what I want to do. And so I was like, what if something happened to you? And he said, well, Mama, either way, I'm okay. No matter what, I am okay. And when I think about the conversations that we had, like about 2 weeks before his death, it was almost like he knew something. Wow. And when you think about it, he told me, we were just talking that day when we was talking about the service, and he said, Mom, I have lived a good life. And I said, why would you say that? I said, you're talking like
a young age. How old was he?
23.
Right, yeah, such a young age.
I said, you're talking like an old man. And he said, no. He said, I'm just saying, I've lived a good life. I think over my life, and I've lived a good life. And I'm going like, well, you got plenty of living to do. So, and just put it off to that. But I guess he was letting me know at that time that he was going to be all right, no matter what. And of course, I didn't get it at the time until after he passed. And then I started thinking about the conversations and things that had taken place. So that's when I was like, wow.
As a mother, how important is it for us to be transparent and honest with our children? Some of the things that we've gone through.
It's important. You gotta know your children too. And sometimes some children will throw that back in your face. And if you're not really, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Especially the adult children. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Those teenagers. Getting it, those young adults. I'm not, that early 20s, 17, 18. You got to be very careful, because you really have to be in a place of deliverance. Yeah. And have that, and know your relationship with that with your child. If your child is going to probably throw that back in your face about some things you've been through or what have you, then it might not be such a safe idea. Right. And so that's why you have to be leaning on the Holy Spirit and allow him to guide you as to what you can and can't say to your children.
Thank you for all the overwhelming support that you have shown me on the release of my first book, Through It All. And I would like to give a special thank you to all of you that have purchased your copy of Through It All. I would like to read a review to you. Hey Gail, I just finished reading your beautiful book. God has done some amazing transformation in your life. You are definitely a testament. Love you, girl. Thank you. If you purchase your book, and once you finish reading your copy of Through It All, please leave me a review, or better yet, a short video snippet of you telling your takeaways from Through It All. There are so many girls and women that are suffering in silence. They need to know that no matter what it is that they've gone through, no matter what it is that they're going through, that through it all, that they will be okay. And if you haven't purchased your copy of Through It All, let's get the word out that through it all, that you can still stand. Through it all, you can still thrive through it all. Thank you. Did Mitchell know God?
Yes. And you know what happened? The Sunday before his accident, which happened that Saturday, he went to Elevation and he gave his life to the Lord. And I was there because I kept on calling him when I kept on texting him when I was in church. I'm going like, you need to come. We're having a nice service. He didn't respond. Little did I know he was already in the church somewhere. And when I saw him that day, he had a Bible, you know, the Bible that they give you when you rededicate yourself. And he had the Bible, and I looked, I'm going like, you have a Bible? I said, you was at church? He said, yes, ma'am. And I said, Mitch, you gave your life to the Lord? He's like, yes, ma'am, I rededicated my life. That was Sunday. On Saturday, he was gone.
Oh, okay. So when we think about divine order, and when we think about how strategic God is,
yes,
and how good God is, and how, you know, the Bible says that, you know, our life is already planned out. God knew. And like you say, maybe he knew, but the fact that he gave his life to God in just enough time, you know, because I can remember someone telling me that they didn't know where their child's soul was. Their child had died. And they said, at least you know where Asia is. I don't know where my child's soul is.
Oh, wow.
So that has to be a bad place to be. Not know where your soul, where your child's soul is dwelling. And basically, if they haven't given their life to God, regardless of who they are, we know that they're not in heaven. So for him to give his life to God right before he passed, that just makes me think how strategic and God is. Yeah. And so a lot of times when we try to think about stuff, and I know it's sad, but then think about the good things like that. Does that make you feel better?
Yes, it does. It makes me feel better that that I know that he gave his life to the Lord, and that he was, and like I say, thinking about conversations and different things. He was preparing himself for whatever he was going to have to go through.
Wow. So you said we go back to the accident that initially you thought it was the other car's fault, and you found out it was your son's fault. It was Mitchell's fault, and the guilt. Yes,
I had a lot of guilt, thinking about the family and what they were going through, and I didn't reach out. Somebody in our family did, but I didn't. I just didn't have enough strength. Be honest with you, I didn't have enough strength to do anything. I thank God for people that were here to pray for me, because I couldn't even pray for myself. And to be honest with you, I didn't even want to pray. I was so angry with God.
Were you angry?
Yes, I was angry. And even at the service, and in church, and I was like sitting there, and I'm just like, you know, I just kind of like, I didn't even want to be there. I didn't want to hear anything about the Bible. I really didn't. I'm just being honest with you. And I'm sure a lot of people get into this.
I feel the same way. So why were you angry with God?
Because I felt like losing my son, and I saw that like everybody else that I see, I'm looking at the news, all these people killing folks and doing this and that, and they still living and doing what they want to do. So so I was like, look at there. You know, I'm looking at it like, why are they still living? Why do they get to live and my son is gone? So that's
a good son. He was a good boy.
He was like my best friend. Really.
So are you still angry with God?
No, but God and I do not have the same relationship like I did a long time ago. So it's just like kind of building up to it. And I know that I need to get a better relationship with God. But I admit that, and I've been going to church and, trying to get more spiritual things, and, and I did, rededicate myself as well. But it's just like, I don't know, it's been a hard road for me spiritually.
So the God that you know, the God that you knew before Mitchell passed, do you think he understands?
Yeah, he understands. He knew I was going to be angry. And he knew I was going to go through all this, and so I think he understands. He gave him, he gave me grace and time to, get it together. Why he passed, I don't know, but only God knows. The reason why he left at that time. Then I think about it, I said, what if he was in the service and end up being like a prisoner of war, or we never got his body back? Things like that come to my mind too, because I knew how he was, and he was always trying to be the hero. So if anything was going on, he was going to try to be the hero, and do something, to help people. So,
and not knowing how God protects us, because I know I can't say I was ever angry with God, because our stories are different. Mitchell was taken, the car accident where Asia was sick, and I was able to be there with her. But I didn't understand, I would ask God, this is my only child. And again, there's so many other people out here doing so many bad things, and this child loves you, and she honors you, and she's a good person, and you healed her from cancer.
Yes. So why now?
Why would you allow her to get sick and to the point of dying? And then when you talk about, we don't know what God is protecting us from, because sometimes I think about, well, what if the cancer would have come back? And, and she was in school to be a speech pathologist. And, after that, you have to go to grad school. And you're a nurse, so with brain cancer comes cognitive issues. And what if her cognitive issues, or the cognitivity might have started to diminish more, and she wasn't able to make it through grad school? What would have happened? So I just like, I don't know, or if he would have allowed her to live with her lungs in the capacity that they were.
Yeah.
It would have been a good quality of life. Yeah. So we don't know what God's protecting.
Yeah, I know. And then like with Mitchell too, like in the accident, like even going on my way home, when I knew it had been an accident, I didn't know what condition Mitchell was in. I didn't know if he was alive or whatnot. I did tell the Lord, just make sure that he's there. I don't care if I have to carry him, put him in, take care of him. I do whatever needs to be done. I just need for him to be here. And then that was a selfish prayer for me, because Mitchell is like a free-spirited person. He would have never wanted to live that way. And then especially if other people died in an accident, he wouldn't have been able to handle that.
Yeah. And we don't know how, why, and
You do know we all have a purpose. I hope that something that you've heard or felt has agitated your dreams, your aspirations, and your promises that ultimately will cause you to refine and not retire. But keep in mind, today you may be feeling, okay, I can do this. Tomorrow you're going to feel, I can do this. Tuesday, Wednesday is going to come in, that doubt is going to start coming back in again. Wednesday or Thursday, the thinking. Or you might tell someone, because remember I said sometimes we need to keep our mouth shut. I'm thinking about doing this. I'm thinking about writing that. I'm thinking about opening this business. And then they're going to ask you why. Why are you going to do this? Come on. And then you're going to question yourself, well, I may be crazy. Maybe I don't need to do this. Maybe it's too hard. How do I even start? But those things we don't have to worry about, because God told us that we just have the faith of a mustard seed. And that we can move mountains. We can do anything and everything is possible with God. So we just have to have the faith. We don't have to know the logistics. What God wants us to do is just put one foot in front of the other. He's going to put the right people in your life.
Yes. It's my book. Through it all, Gail Estella. This book has 6 powerful chapters, offering a quick and meaningful read filled with uplifting and empowering insights. Let's take a look. Here's the front. Through it all, Gail Estella. True Vine Publishing. And in the back, there's a place for you to take notes. You're going to want to take notes. I'm an author. I am that author. Gail Estella, the author. If I can say anything to you, it would be, do not give up on your dreams. Do not give up on your dreams, because they can come true. I am a true testament to this.
So how do you think, and we don't know God, but what do you think God's thinking is? And I know his ways are not our ways and his thoughts are not our thoughts, but how he chooses the ones that he chooses to carry the burdens, to carry the pain that we have had to carry.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess you think we his strong soldiers.
And then we can't.
I guess sometimes we don't even know how strong we are until you do something. And then you start ministering, like when you went through with Asia, and not long after you was able to come, you came here to the house when Mitchell passed. And so, we start ministering to other people because you start noticing a lot of people losing their children, whether it's to accidents, suicide, or sickness or illness or whatever.
Gunfire,
gun violence. And it's just like, and then you try to minister to them, and then you hate anytime I hear that a child has passed or I see something, and I'm going like, I start instantly thinking about that mother. And I'm going like, oh my God, I know how she feels at this point. Because you feel like you're in a nightmare, and you're just trying to wake up from it. Like when you wake up from it, and the next morning, when you're finally able to get some sleep, you wake up and you was hoping that it's just been a terrible dream that you were stuck in.
And then reality sets in again.
Reality sets in because that person is not there.
So you've lived 50 plus years. Is there anyone on this earth that you've come across in your 53 years that you would want them to feel this pain and feel this burden?
No, man. Not even my worst enemy. I don't wish this pain on anybody. Losing a parent, like I lost my dad in 2011, I thought that was the worst pain, because I was close to my dad. But losing a child does not compare to anything that I've ever felt. It just doesn't, because it's not the natural order of things. Sure, how we think it should be, but yeah.
One of my friends, she's a substance abuse counselor, and she said that she had been counseling this young lady. The young lady was about 27, and she said her daughter died 2 years ago when she was 25, and she said for 2 years the young lady had been drinking every day because of the pain being so great.
Wow.
And I could understand it.
Yeah, I can. I completely understand it.
You just don't want to feel. So how important, because you say you were angry with God, but how important was it that you knew God What do you think would have happened or could have happened if you didn't know God?
Oh, wow. If I didn't know him, I probably wouldn't be here. And I see how, how some people can lose a child and next thing they have a heart attack or something and die. I can see how that can happen because you can die with a broken heart and it's ultimate hurt that you would ever feel in your life.
So with you being a nurse, have you ever experienced that? Have you seen that?
Broken heart.
Isn't it broken heart syndrome or something?
Yeah, it's another name that they call it. I forgot the scientific name of it. I've seen people come to the hospital after losing somebody and had to be admitted to the heart unit and because of their heart, and they broken heart syndrome. But they, some of them made it through, but I was reading different articles and different things. Of course, when you have somebody to pass and you start reading more, and it's like you find other people who's gone through, and the mom, especially, I think it's something about moms. And that they, pass on not shortly after that they lose a child. And and then like for me having other kids, and I start being more protective of them because I'm afraid to feel that again.
So do you think your reign has been too tight on them? Have they had to say, Mama, loosen up a little bit? Or
I think at first it was, and then I had to realize I can't, it's in the Lord's hand. I can't do anything about it. And because I hear of other people who's lost 2 kids, they lost a kid, then again, I was like, so that's something that I know is possible. But I pray that I don't have to go through that again.
You don't have to experience it.
You do know we all have a purpose. I hope that something that you've heard or felt has agitated your dreams, your aspirations, and your promises that ultimately will cause you to refine, not retire. But keep in mind, today you may be feeling, okay, I can do this. Tomorrow you're going to feel, I can do this. Tuesday, Wednesday is going to come in, that doubt is going to start coming back in again. Wednesday or Thursday, the thinking. Or you might tell someone, because remember I said sometimes we need to keep our mouth shut. I'm thinking about doing this. I'm thinking about writing that. I'm thinking about opening this business. And then they're going to ask you why. Why are you going to do this? And then you're going to question yourself, well, I may be crazy. Maybe I don't need to do this. Maybe it's too hard. How do I even start? Those things we don't have to worry about because God told us that we just have the faith of a mustard seed and that we can move mountains. We can do anything and everything is possible with God. So we just have to have the faith. We don't have to know the logistics. What God wants us to do is just put one foot in front of the other. He's going to put the right people in your life.
So you're raising Ava. Ava's how old now? 7?
9.
She's 9.
Yes.
So how is that? How is that? Because I think about, I don't have a legacy. My legacy stopped, ended with Asia. You have your girls and, they're doing, wonderful in school and they're doing very well, Clemson grads and, they're just polite and as polite as Mitchell was. And, you have Ava. So how is that to see your son?
Yeah.
That I can still have a part of him and I can still parent a part of him and protect a part of him and be a mother to a part of him. How is that for you?
I love it. I love that I have her. Now, as you get older and you're raising kids, And sometimes I like Mitchell. So, but it's good to see part of him in her and part of him in my other grand Erin. And
Erin now?
She's 8. And she is exactly like him. Everything, she's so much like him that it's like, Lord, so what did you like? You gave me another Mitchell, from her. But, and then I feel sad because I think about them. They'll never have their dad to walk them down the aisle or be there when they, graduate high school and things like that. So all I can do is the best that I can do for them and in raising A. But like I said, I don't have all the energy that I had when I had my other kids. And I try to, do something, gone up my energy just because I don't want her to be shortchanged just because of that.
So what about mental health? You're in the medical profession, and May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So how important is that we maintain our mental health and we take care of our mental health during loss, because we're talking about loss? What ways, after, because I don't know how many people thought about mental health immediately after the loss of someone, but were there any things that you did to maintain your mental health, your girls' mental health, or anything that you do now?
Yeah, we did try to do some counseling right after. But my issue, which I had at the time, because I was rebelling every way that I could. And I'm going to counseling like, they don't know how I feel. They don't know what I'm going through. They haven't lost a child, So, but it's easier to talk to someone who has been through, the same situation. So, but I think what we did was we kind of stayed busy and kind of leaned on each other and family support. Now, I do advise people to get into counseling as soon as they can and to stay with it. And if they have a counselor that, hey, it's a mixed match, make sure that you can request another one, and then get somebody that works better with your personality and things like that. But I think if I had really gotten into my counseling and into my Bible and things, I would have been a whole lot further along, just because but I was kind of rebelling in every way because I was so mad for a very long time. So so only thing it did was kind of slow me down and hurt me by being so mad and angry.
Progress.
But my girls are currently in counseling now, because the older they get, they miss their brother. They love him because he was just like a little daddy to them. And then they think about, Mom, imagine now if Mitch was here, what he'd be doing. He'd be so proud. I know he would be proud. Yeah. So, but they both are in counseling now. So, which is good. Because they're in college, that transition and all that. Yeah. Do
you still have a relationship with the grandbaby's mothers, his fiance?
Yes. Yes. We have a great, wonderful relationship. It's almost like God gave me another daughter. So I feel about her. And she was the one. She was the one for him, and she loved him unconditionally, and to me that was important to know that he found true love before he left this earth. He was able to do a lot of in those
short 23 years
he was able to do a lot of things, and we look back at different things, and he experienced everything. His life, like I told him when he told me that he had a good life, I said, some people are never able to say those words, that they have lived a good life. And I said, 23, you're able to say that. I said, that's wonderful. And so it's just been, it's been a challenge, but then at the same time, we learn how to get through. But yes, I thank God for my extended family with Sedaria. She's an amazing mother too.
I think you're doing an awesome job. You know, I remember your kids from little girls.
Yes.
And I've seen the stages of them growing up. And I don't get to see you as much now. I'm not there but I see what they're doing. I see what they've accomplished. And I think I'm going to tell you, I think you're doing an awesome job as a mother. And a daughter, because you're a great daughter to your mother.
Yes, I have to look out for her.
Yeah,
I know to your mom. You like, wait, we have to look out. We look out for our parents.
We don't give ourselves enough credit, so just give yourself a little bit more credit. And whatever it is you're feeling, feel it. God's got you, and you just keep striving, and we all will be okay. We're here, we're surviving. You did this.
I know. Yes, I was able to,
Yeah.
I have so many people that are grieving. So when you started this, it was like it was much needed, because nobody was. I mean, grief. We don't talk about it enough. We don't talk about grief enough. And then we not helping, like the more we talk about it and get out there, the more we can help other mothers, because it's so many mothers don't feel like that they can put another foot in front of the other, take another step, can get up. And so we need to be there for those mothers. And
Yes. So is there anything else that you would like to say before we close?
No, I think that thank you for having me, and I really admire you and your strength. You have been very encouraging to me. I've been watching you, and it's really encouraging to watch you and just see the growth that I see in you. It's just like you have turned into a completely different flower than ever blown. And I know that your daughter is all God. Yeah, but I know your daughter is very proud and just up there rooting you on. So
And being Angel's mother. Ooh.
Yes.
So this is the Gail Estella Survival Podcast. Name 3 things that has helped you to survive.
I would say family, faith, and love. Just
Family, faith, and love.
Yeah.
Family, faith, and love. I am so grateful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This is going to help someone. This is going to help.
That's why I really want to help someone to, if I can just give them any kind of encouragement to see what I've gone through, what you've gone through, that hey, you keep on pushing, don't give up. You can't give up. That's the only thing. We still here.
We're still here. Thank you so much, okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.